When Ben, a down-on-his-luck Airbnb host, welcomes a sharp consultant into his home, he doesn't expect her to be restructuring his ex-wife's company. Over dinner, she starts venting about a difficult employee, not realizing she's describing his ex. Now, every conversation is a tightrope between truth and disaster. How long can Ben hide the connection before the past walks right back through the door? The business of moving on Ben had gotten used to introductions that began with an apology. "Sorry for the mess," he said automatically, though the Airbnb listing looked exactly like the photos. Tastefully minimal, strategically cozy, and carrying just enough personality to look lived in, but not enough to feel haunted. He'd stopped mentioning that it used to be his home, the one he designed back when he was an architect. Before the layoffs, before the divorce, before he learned that the phrase midlife reinvention meant reinvent or sink. Sonia arrived in a blur of luggage wheels and brisk efficiency. Tailored coat, Bluetooth earpiece, a woman who didn't so much enter a room as audit it. "Ben? Hi, I'm Sonia Patel," she said, scanning the living room like she was running a SWOT analysis. "Nice place. Great lighting." He noticed she didn't say warm. No one ever did. They exchanged polite small talk. Her consulting gig, his hosting sideline, mutual exhaustion. But the air shifted when she mentioned she was in town to restructure a small but chaotically ambitious tech startup. "It's called Pixel Nest," she said. Ben's hand froze halfway to the coffee pot. "Pixel Nest? You mean, run by Rachel Connors?" "Yeah," Sonia said, oblivious. "Do you know her?" Ben forced a laugh. "You could say that." He didn't add, "I know her like I know my own credit card debt." Instead, he poured coffee for them both, smiling too long, like a man watching his past walk back in through the front door, only this time it wore someone else's blazer. Dinner that night wasn't part of the Airbnb experience, but Sonia had insisted on thanking him for the hospitality. They sat across the same table where he and Rachel once debated backsplash tiles. "So," she said, spearing a roasted carrot, "my client's company is a mess. There's this one employee, so defensive, so allergic to feedback. It's tanking morale." Ben offered a sympathetic nod, the kind people use when they'd rather not be in the story. "What's her name?" "Ellie. No, sorry, Eleanor. I think she prefers the full thing. She's brilliant, but she's complicated, and apparently recently divorced from some architect." The staff gossip's wild. Ben's fork froze mid-air. "That right?" "Yeah," Sonia said, shaking her head. "If I were her ex, I'd count my blessings." "She's sorry. That's unprofessional of me." "No," Ben said quietly. "It's insightful." For a few seconds, he saw his life refracted through her detached consultant tone, his ex-wife's colleague describing their breakup like a business case study. It was funny in the way root canals are funny when someone else is having them. "So, what would you do?" Sonia asked. "If you were me?" He thought for a long moment. "I'd stop trying to fix her." "People don't like being treated like projects," Sonia smirked. "You sound like someone who's learned that the hard way." "I am," he said. "Twice over." They developed a quiet rhythm after that. Morning coffee, evening wine, professional war stories turned therapy sessions. Sonia talked about burnout, about being good at everything except happiness. Ben listened, trying not to fall for the irony that she was living in the house where his own perfectionism had exploded. Then came the email from Rachel. Subject line: "Why is my consultant living with my ex-husband?" By noon, the situation had evolved from awkward to sitcom-level chaos. Rachel stormed in, eyes blazing, trailing Eleanor, Ellie, who looked equally ready to sue or sob. "Are you kidding me, Ben?" Rachel demanded. "You're hosting my employee?" "Technically, she booked before I knew," he said. "Also, hi, Sonia, ever the professional, tried diplomacy. I had no idea this was your ex-husband's house. Rachel snapped. Oh, you knew something felt familiar, right? Ellie hovered near the doorway, staring at the framed sketches of the house's original blueprints. This place looks the same, she murmured. Down to the kitchen tiles. Ben wanted to sink into the floor. Instead, he said, maybe that's the problem. None of us changed the floor plan. We just switched tenants. Silence. Then, unexpectedly, laughter. First Sonia, then Ellie, then even Rachel. The kind that comes from exhaustion more than amusement. Later, after the storm had quieted and apologies had turned to awkward hugs, Sonia found Ben on the porch. I think I'm done trying to restructure people, she said. Turns out we're all just messy startups pretending to have a business model. Ben smiled. Speak for yourself. I'm running a thriving hospitality enterprise, she chuckled. Do you ever think about going back to architecture? He looked out at the horizon, the home he'd built still standing, scarred but sturdy. No, he said. I think I'm finally learning to build something else. What's that? Grace, he said. And maybe breakfast for two. Sonia smiled, not as a consultant, but as someone who understood rebuilding. Not the kind that starts with blueprints, but with honesty. The porch light flickered on, catching them in soft amber glow. Two people who had stopped fixing others long enough to start finding themselves. And for the first time in a long while, the house finally felt warm.